All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the Litchfield Budget Committee meeting. It is 7 o'clock, and today is March 24th. And if we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first agenda item is, first of all, welcome. We have Kevin Bork and Jen Bork. No, really, Borks and Burks. Relation. So welcome. Those are our new members tonight. And then we'll just jump right in. We have to elect a chair and a vice chair. So it's all up to you guys.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Cindy for chair.
Second.
Okay, any other nominations?
You did a great job. So.
You're all just chicken.
You were willing to handle that load last year. Who are we to take that from you?
All right, if there are no nominations, do you want to vote? Or just assume it's so?
Vote.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? I'll abstain. So that's 801. Thank you.
Actually, I think it's 7-0.
2, 4. Oh, we're one short. I forgot. Yes. Yep. Vice chair. Is there anybody that would like to nominate somebody as vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Carrie.
Is there? I'll second that.
Thank you.
Is there any other nominations? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor of Carrie as vice chair signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Aye.
701 for Carrie. And those are the only two positions we elect. So we have Michelle as our secretary, and that's it. All right, so at this point, and I missed adding in adjustments to the agenda. So we did have a resignation. I think this is the appropriate point for that. We did have a resignation from Bill. He submitted it to the town clerk, and it's not like we can not accept it, but I think as a formality, we should accept it. So I would like to make a motion to accept Bill Spencer's resignation with gratitude for, I don't even know how many years Bill's been around. I've been here for 24 years, and he's been here all 24 years, so a long, long time. Is there a second?
I'll second that with deep regret for the history that's going to leave with Bill.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? So, by RSA, I looked up the RSA to make sure, to refresh my memory, because since I've been on the budget committee, we have not had to appoint anybody. But it is a position that is appointed by the budget committee, and that person fills the position, fills the unexpired term, which is to the next election. Traditionally, what we've done is, especially so close to an election, it would be the next highest vote getter, which would, as Bill indicated in his message to us, would have been Andrew Cutter. So it's up to the committee as to what they would like to do at this point.
Madam Chair, if I could, I believe the last time was about 6 years ago when a member left and someone came in.
It's been a while.
And they interviewed both candidates.
Mhm.
I mean, my suggestion, I'll just put it out there, similar to what we did with the school board when we had a member leave, is that the 3 candidates that were interested in the budget committee would come in and talk to the budget committee as far as why they want to be on the committee. That's just my suggestion.
Any other comments?
I'd like to add to that. I think that gives a little bit more of an even playing field. Again, the time proximity to the election, I think, again, different things, and I don't know, obviously, hopefully his health is good and those type of things, but giving the opportunity for all 3 people to come in and speak, I think, would be important, and I think it and especially in this type of meeting when the folks, the taxpayers get to see who they are instead of just going through that. Because I think there's a lot of variables that play in. If he had left prior to an election where someone else could have put their name in, knowing it's only 2 years. So we could have had a pool of 2 or 3 other people with varied skill sets that probably would have been, could have been helpful to the board moving forward. So I would second Brian's idea.
Other comments?
I think we should go with past precedent, and I think the person that had the most amount of votes will be the next logical candidate. They also have past budget committee experience as well as a deep financial background, which the board is going to need with this bill being absent.
As much as I agree, obviously, with Andrew's past qualifications, and that he does have a vast knowledge and great understanding, and is very detailed with his charts, and he is the next vote guy. I'd even go further, because past precedent wasn't just, I mean, anybody knows me knows I believe in process regardless of what the end result would be or won't be. You've opened it up to the community in the past. It had nothing to do with just who ran. I was here on this committee, and shortly after election, the member resigned, and we opened it up to the community to come in. I don't think it says anywhere who else ran.
Any else?
That's what we did with the school board.
What is the precedent then? Is there something that has been traditionally followed? Because to me, logically, it's the next highest vote getter.
That would be logical to me too, of course, but past precedent has been that it's been opened up to the community. So that's why I believe in consistency and process, and that's what we've done up until recently.
The timing has had an impact where the election, this is the first, the resignation happened before the new committee even sat. If it had been, because I have seen it where it's been like in October, September timeframe, and in that case, so much time has gone by that you do open it up, interview people, and bring somebody on. In this situation, I think we just had an election. We had 3 people that ran. Their opinions and information was out there for the entire community, not just the 8 people here, but the entire community to review. And there was a result of that within the last few weeks. So I think the timing does have an impact. Jen, did you have a comment?
Yeah, well, I just think the number of votes between the 3rd, 4th, and 5th candidates is so small that I don't know that, had there been 3 positions opened, split amongst those 5 people, we have no way of knowing whether or not that would have, if the vote still would have gone the way that it did, you know? I think that there's value to having all 3 candidates, or to actually to opening it up to the public for any candidate that's interested. Because I think it definitely does change, you know, the dynamic and the circumstance.
Kevin, did you have any comments?
I would agree with what Jen just said. As far as that, I think, you know, personally, I would like to see, you know, those 3 candidates and probably maybe go forward with that, so.
All right, so it sounds like the consensus is then that we will publicize that there is an opening. We will invite, I think there needs to be a date certain that we invite anybody who's interested to make either an email, say, to me, and let me know, or let the committee know that they're interested, and then we will interview people and make a decision based on the interviews that we have. Ray?
If we're going to do that, then I think we ought to formalize that process a little bit. What we're going to expect, you know, I think everybody should give us a detailed, you know, their resume for what they bring to the table for the job. We're going to interview this like a job. And we have some HR staff here, you know, all those processes are processes. And if we're going to adopt something like this that's new, and I've sat on this board in the past, non-elected, on a tap like that to fill somebody else's position. I think if we're going to change the process and we're going to put this out as an interview process, then we need to have some rules governing that.
Okay. So how, looking at a calendar, our next meeting is April 21st. So what do we want then as a deadline? To allow us to have information in time for the meeting on the 21st.
Should be a
Do you
week
want to do it
prior.
before that?
Tomorrow, maybe?
So 2 weeks from tomorrow is the 8th. So we'll ask for, now let me think logistically. I should be able to get something in HLN for Friday the 1st, so it makes sense to still have the 8th. I think that gives enough time for that. All right, so does that sound, I'll get something in HLN, we want anybody who's interested, their information, a resume of what their qualifications are to sit on.
Letter of intent, what,
Qualifications, does qualifications matter?
they seem to now.
Well,
Since we just blew past precedent out, then we have to develop a process, so qualifications do matter.
well, hold on. First of all, I don't see blowing out past precedents. I said I was here, and it was open to the community, and I saw the school board and I think even the Board of Selectmen open to the community. So I saw that. So, point you brought up, timing, okay, that might be fine. I don't understand, I don't remember what months it were. I guess I didn't think much about it. Does timing really make a difference? I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'd have to think long and hard about that one, but right now, I can't see how timing makes an issue, but it might. So, I never saw past precedence being the next one. Now, so unless somebody shows me where that was, I don't see where the next one in line was past precedence.
That has been what we have done in the past.
Yeah, and like I said, it's varied. There've been,
Okay.
where it's been in the fall, it's been
If-
a process
Well,
where
so
you.
each board, I guess at this point, it's each board
Because,
to do that.
again, if that is the process then, and if that precedence could be shown to me, then I am all for having the next vote, next in line, which would be Andrew, sit on this board effective tonight, if that is the past precedence and that's the process, because that is important to me, more than the end result is.
Ray, were you on the board 6 years ago?
Yeah.
You recall, I don't know who the individual was who left. I believe that person had a year left also.
And that was the, like, October, November. It's very late in the season. I was like November timeframe.
But then if you go back to the prior election, were there more than,
I'm going back, there's been a few of us been around for a while, and I've probably got like, I don't know, something like 24 years in town service, 23 years in town service in some capacity, and it's been very common to do just that. If the person that was next in line isn't interested, then you move on to the rest of the body for that. In this case, I don't think that is the case. I think we have that person is interested, and I think that's doing the will of the people, because that was the most amount of votes.
It's been done, as I said, it's been done, I've seen, mostly what happens is people get into the middle of the season and resign. I do know of one or two other occasions where, and people have been very frustrated because we just held an election. Why didn't they resign right before? There was someone who tried to resign in time, but it was already open for candidates to sign up, so they didn't resign in time enough. So at least two occasions, right after election time, the next highest vote getter went in. The majority of the time, it's September, October, November, in which case, by then, so much time has passed, you open it up to the community. So like I said, it's been done both ways. It's pretty much based on timing.
Now, to Ray's point, true, the will of the people, because he could say, then the first, and there was two seats open, so the first and the second vote counts with the will of the people.
But I think it adds in, this is what it comes down to, is that if there was a 2-year term put on there,
it's actually a one-year term.
a 1-year term, exactly, 1-year term put on there, would more people have signed up for that 1-year term? Would other people have done it to sway that vote? There's 20 votes between those two over there.
Well, that could very well.
So
It's
we're not looking at it in that case, and I understand past precedent, but I still think that to open it up and to do that is the fair way of doing it.
Actually, I disagree at all. It shouldn't become a popularity contest, which is what it is, and it becomes down to purely a matter of fact, that this person got 20 more votes than the other person, and that, and it says it. I mean, well, we could take this to big-time politics and talk about what's going on in the GOP and the possibility of a brokered convention, right? That's what we're looking at right here. If we have somebody that clearly got more votes than the other person, it becomes academic and non-intellectual in any way, shape, or form. It's a matter of being able to recognize the difference between two numbers.
Which I understand that, but again, it wasn't presented in that way. We're talking prior to, because something changed.
Well, hold
Is that
on.
that variable
If you want to talk
changed?
about the election rate, just because you get the most votes doesn't mean you win.
Pardon?
Hold on, hold on.
I certainly don't want to go,
And you win.
I certainly don't want to go to the
It's the same.
GOP.
I need
Chris,
to
did you have a
respond to your
comment?
point right here. Of course it wasn't presented that way, because that way didn't exist. Something happened after the
I
fact.
understand that. That's,
So the point, you could say, what if? I mean,
I'm not saying what if, but then you're talking about timing. Why don't you let those people come in and just let the
Well,
process?
That's
take
fine, if that's the will of the
and
board.
I'm putting all the pieces together now, and like I typically do in my thought process, I always start with process. I always go
I,
right
under-
to
yeah, I
process.
was driving back from Maine, and I knew that's exactly
So
what I was going to hear.
always
so
go, process is it.
I called
for me.
Dr. Phil on the way, so it's a long
So
telephone
I
call
start
all
with
the
that,
way
so
home.
I looked at the RSA too, so I read that, so first I go with the law, then I go with process and precedence. Now, my experience, because I've seen people do it, where we did call out to the community. Cindy brought up a point about timing. Be honest, I have not thought of that, and I can't even make a decision on that yet, because I have to think about it rationally, and I can't right now, but let's assume that's a point, that timing is important. Then, it is true, Andrew got the second. I mean, I could talk about votes in this town where it didn't go the way I wanted it to go by 2 votes, and the other side says, hey, that was the will of the voter.
That's true.
So the will of the voter were 3 people in that order. The first 2 are sitting here, and the third one is sitting in your pool.
So,
I would,
let's do this. Let's put it in HLN. Let's ask people for a letter of why they want to sit, what they bring to the table, and start there. Because I think if we spend another month, do a little research, and I will go back and try to find that information. But I think we need to move forward. So let's start with that. And then when we meet on the 21st, we'll have whoever's interested, ask them to be in attendance, and we can have another discussion and go forward from there.
So are you saying that we ask for people and then still decide whether or not we're actually going to do it that way, or this is how we're proceeding?
It's the will of this committee, whether it's, we decide that it's the people who have sent in their resumes, or at that point, we decide to go with past precedent. Either way, that's what will happen on the 21st. We'll have more information.
I'd just like to go on record, if we're going to throw out past precedent, that we're going to throw it out for everything along the year. Because this is definitely going against that. And that's me and my experience bringing that to the table. I just want it to be on the public record. So I would put that to a vote, Cindy, to see who's in favor of doing the interview process.
All right, then I need a motion that we, okay, so what I'm here, I'm trying to cover everybody's desires, so we can narrow it down. What I'm saying is, we'll put it out for people who are interested, get letters of intent, and then also do our research to see what the precedence is, and bring all of that information back to the next meeting.
You can do
No.
that about the past precedent, but I don't think it's going to have any impact. If you're at a juncture here, we're going to choose one of 2 paths. Once you choose the path, you're going down it. So if we choose the path to go with, from now on, for every open position, or whenever this happens, no matter what the timing, that we're going to hold some kind of interview process to replace that person on the board, irregardless of what happened during the election, then that's going to be the precedent from here on forward, because it's going to be formalized.
You know,
If we don't, and we go with the past precedent as it is right now, that will be the same for moving forward. All I wanted to do, I don't care which way it goes, but ultimately, I want to go on record saying that is against what the will of the people was.
Yeah,
And
Ray,
that's
Ray, do you
all
think
I'm
that-
gonna say about it.
Ray, do you think every time there was a seat open that they didn't go back to the election and?
No, matter of fact, most of the time, they can't fill these seats, Brian. It's
Right.
not uncommon to get no one here. And the reality is, if we have people with experience, and they got the most of votes, and they were past board members, they currently have the most amount of votes, and we don't give them that position, I just think that's wrong. That's what the people wanted. If it was a selectman or a school board member, somebody'd be kicking up a fuss. And this is me kicking up a fuss about this. And, you know, whatever the board chooses, I'll go along with what the board chooses, but the reality is, you know, I'm not gonna stand here and compromise my values, much like Chris won't compromise his, for a popularity contest.
I want to add to something, because, you know, I agree with what you just said, except for the experience thing.
Wait.
I'm sorry, and I'll tell you why with the experience thing I have a problem. Because I think your definition of experience would probably be way different than my definition of experience, and that's the point I'm trying to make.
Maybe,
So
maybe not.
experience can mean different things to different people. So what's experience?
Experience doesn't matter.
I'm against popularity contests also. So to me, it's either you follow the process of you have people, or I am okay, or I'm starting to now, after listening to some of these conversations regarding the timing and the way it was, and that there was more than one, actually many more than a couple of people vying for the seat to go in the order of vote.
I think even doing that process, though, it negates the voting we took. Why is our vote, why do this population, why do we get to
Because the RSA says it does. I'm trying to
override
find
the
it.
vote of the people? The people have voted, we're not talking that far from an election. No business has occurred, the same, you know, to me, it's the people have spoken. And I wouldn't care who got third most. To me, it should be the third most. It doesn't matter if they have more experience or not. That person obtained the most number of votes. To me, it's purely academic, and the experience or the fact that he was here before doesn't play a role in my decision that he obtained the third most. That should be the way it is.
Are you looking for
I don't think we
32,
should
50?
have the right to
The thing is, there were only two seats that were up, and two people won. So it doesn't matter who was third, who was fourth, who was fifth. It doesn't. And Ray, if I can just.
Shall we-
Brian,
Just
I have to
clarify.
tell you something, no, you know, I have
Hold
to
on,
tell you
guys.
something. This is the first time since I've been on any of these boards that I've seen this childish bullshit.
All right,
This, no.
let's
it-
move forward,
This is
please.
ridiculous.
Let's move
I'm ready to
forward.
resign because this right here is a conflict of interest. And now we're talking about giving the next trophy. We're not following any process.
All right.
This is a joke. John Oliver should pick this board next.
All right, Ray.
Fantastic.
Chris,
Well, first of all, there's not
did
a-
you have something that you were
Can Ray
looking
just
for in the
clarify
RSA's? Brian, hold on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I read it before. I read it a couple times. Hold on, Ray. Hold on a
No,
second.
You know what?
Hold-
I got a
hold-
more important.
Hold on one
thing to
second.
do.
Hold
This
on.
is a,
Hold on
this
one
is a
second.
sham.
Hold on
This
one
is
second.
garbage.
Ray,
We have a couple issues to
let's-
talk about.
let's relax.
I found that, I read it before, I can't remember if it was in this book or somewhere else, so if you could help me and maybe read where it says fill vacancy. Clearly, this board is responsible.
In municipalities where members at large are elected, vacancies shall be filled by appointment by the Budget Committee. Persons appointed to fill vacancies shall serve until the next annual meeting, at which time a successor shall be elected or appointed to either fill the unexpired term or start a new term, as the case may be.
Okay. I think we had a very productive and somewhat heated discussion here, and it's clearly in the hands of this committee to make that decision. I expressed my opinions about the process and the way I saw it come down. You added a lot of input about the timing thing. So I want to move forward and make a motion to appoint Andrew Cutter to this committee to fill a vacant seat for the one-year term.
Second.
All right, a motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Andrew Cutter
Yeah,
was the
I have-
next vote getter, and...
I just have a question for Ray, just to clarify. Because you said it several times, as far as a popularity contest, so I'm not sure what you were referring to.
Because at this point it is. If we're throwing this out to who we like over this, that is a popularity contest over the fact of the matter, this guy got the most votes. It really is. Tell me that it's not, Brian. How is that not?
So the,
What are you saying?
I'm sure that every candidate that ran this year, and I don't know the young lady next to Andrew personally, but I'm sure she's a wonderful person. But she didn't get the most votes. And this, to me, comes right down to that. It really does. We
So-
wouldn't elect the rest of our boards, selectmen, school persons, we wouldn't elect them any other way than the person that got the most votes.
All right, so here's, in a nutshell, if I could find the
I'm sorry,
results.
this is.
Because later on are the results. The 3 candidates, there were 5, total of 5 candidates. So there was Paul Mallory, who received 317, Shayna Dodge, who received 327, Andrew Cutter, who received 339. So approximately, I'm trying to remember how many people voted in the election, about 900 people voted in the election.
Which one, the
So-
last one?
This past 2 weeks ago.
Almost 1,200.
2 weeks ago, 1,200.
Just a little under,
So 1,200 people weighed in
1160 or something.
from the community of Litchfield on who they wanted to be in various positions in the town. So what we're doing is boiling down what 1,200 people said, and now 8 people are going to make that decision instead. And it is perfectly within our right. That is what the RSA says we should do and we can do. So I just want to sort of boil it down. This is what we're doing.
I found it.
Is it?
No, it's exactly what you said. I
Okay.
finally found
I
it.
was like, uh-oh, did you
Nope.
find something different?
It's exactly what you said.
So I just want to sort of summarize, this is what we're doing right now. Is
And-
there any further discussion?
That person just serves for the 1 year until next year comes up.
Until
I
the-
want to make it clear, it wouldn't matter to me if it's 20 votes, 200 votes, or 1 vote. It's just, it's more votes. It's just, to me, that's the way it should be. And it doesn't matter to me who the person is. It's more votes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of appointing Andrew Cutter, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, so the motion failed by tie vote. So we will go back to Plan B, which is to ask for letters of intent. I will put it in HLN. We will have those letters by April 8th, and then we will make our decision on April 21st.
Is that a motion?
We can certainly make it a motion to make it a little more cut and dry.
Would you interview them at the same time, or you, again, or you back the decision that on the 8th you'll decide what you'll do?
We'll interview them, because quite
Well, that's what I'm
frankly,
thinking, if you do it on the 8th, I would think you'd want to interview them for the next meeting,
no, we would interview them at the meeting.
the 8th.
No, our
No,
meeting's the
21st.
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 They would have to have letters of intent into us by the 8th, and then we would review those between the 8th and the 21st, and then we would
I just know if
interview
you
and
just
make
want to
our
expedite it
decision.
so that you'd have another member by the 21st.
Right. So, I mean, we can certainly take a vote if you want to make sure it's cast in stone, or we can just do by consensus.
I'd go by consensus, because I'm not voting in favor of that process.
Okay, it's the call of the chair by consensus. With what I've gathered from this discussion, that's what we're going to do.
Again, I'd just like to say that I'm opposed to that. Just for the record.
All righty. At this point, we'll move on then to public input.
Madam Chairman, this is Andrew Cutter, 6 Moose Hollow Road. Thank you for the debates, good dialogue. Got a little heated there for a minute. I'm up here tonight because I wanted to thank Mr. Spencer for his time on the committee, his long service to our community. I think, you know, as a former member of this committee, we all very much appreciate the 24-plus years Mr. Spencer spent on this committee. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, me. I knew I was going to get a huff. Chris Pascucci, 12 Colonial Drive. There's an obvious elephant in the room. It was just brought up. I think it's best to bring it up as a community member because there's going to be a perceived conflict of interest in this board because this school board representative, that's also the chairman of the school board, he's the representative to the budget committee, and his wife is an elected member to this committee. Now, she was duly elected to this committee, but he was chosen by his members, and he could have declined. So this is a perceived or real, we don't know yet about the real, but it's at least a perceived and important conflict of interest, which I think needs to be self-policed, because there's no governing body overseeing this. Laws are only meant to keep honest people honest. So it is up to you guys and the boards to make sure things are done right for the people in this town, and there is no conflict, either real or perceived. Thank you.
Just to clarify, certainly, I think what the school board did was short-sighted and opened themselves up for criticism, but it's their issue. It's not something we can change. As a committee, we have no say in who the school board appoints. So if there's going to be anything that's done, it has to be done by the school board. Anything else?
Hi, Shanna Dodge, Heron Drive. I just wanted to put in, just as a, member of the community, that I think that if the voting, if we had been voting for 3 open spots, the votes could have gone any number of different ways versus, it's not like everyone voted for one person and the top 2 got the spots. It was vote for 2 people. And if it was open to vote for 3 people, I just think that we don't know how the vote would have gone. It's just how I see it. It's actually not personal at all, and I hadn't spoken to anyone before I came here tonight, so I kind of felt like listening to that it kind of sounded to me like it was, some kind of a battle between me and Andrew, and it's completely not. So I just wanted to get that out there because it just felt that way to me. It didn't feel right. So, but as a member of the public, I do feel like I just don't feel like that third vote would have necessarily, I don't know, it just would have gone completely differently, I feel like. Could have gone completely differently, we don't know. If you're voting for 2 people, it's different than voting for 3. So just want to get that out there.
Thank you. All right, moving on. We have many sets of minutes.
And I hadn't spoken to anyone before I came here tonight, so I kind of felt like listening to that it kind of sounded to me like it was, some kind of a battle between me and Andrew, and it's completely not. So I just wanted to get that out there because it just felt that way to me. It didn't feel right. So, but as a member of the public, I do feel like I just don't feel like that third vote would have necessarily, I don't know, it just would have gone completely differently, I feel like. Could have gone completely differently, we don't know. If you're voting for 2 people, it's different than voting for 3. So just want to get that out there.
Thank you. All right, moving on. We have many sets of minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of minutes. I did send them out so that they were fresh in people's minds. I'm going to start with the ones that are the oldest. So we have minutes from January 5th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 5th.
Is there a second?
Anybody read them?
I'll second it. Believe me, I went over them with a fine-tooth comb because these are the ones that have all of the numbers in them and made sure that they matched with Michelle and matched the school district and matched with Troy and the town. So I went over these with a fine-tooth comb. So I will second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of January 5th, 2016, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and abstained.
Aye.
So we have 3 abstentions. 503.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 7th.
All right.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of January 7th, 2016, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained?
Aye.
So we have, again.
Actually, I
5.
abstained on the 5th too, because I wasn't here.
Okay, so that makes it
I knew there was a
4.
couple that I was here for and a couple that I wasn't, so I was trying diligently to get to my calendar.
Yes, you were not.
Can't in here.
What's that?
You can't in here.
Yeah, I'm like sitting there as fast as I could there, so I know I looked at him.
Is the second one 4042?
404.
Both.
And the second one there, it's a 503.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 14th of the hearing.
So the hearing minutes of January 14th. Is there a second?
Second.
All righty. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving January 14th hearing minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
Aye.
So we have 602.
And motion the approval of the minutes of January 14th.
So this is the meeting after the hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of the January 14th meeting, which was held after the hearing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Aye.
Okay, so 602. Then we have town deliberative.
Which I believe is actually January 30th. No.
Yep,
Oh,
you are right.
Did I
No,
mix
I,
them
no,
up?
I put 31st on the,
So I will motion the approval
Agenda.
of the minutes of January 30th.
okay?
Second.
It's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of January 30th, which is the town deliberative, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Aye.
aye.
So 602. And then the last
Who
set,
seconded that?
that was,
I did it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know. I said something, and I can't
I said
remember.
something.
You're
And
stewing over there.
then the last set is the school deliberative, the minutes of the meeting after school deliberative, which is February 6th.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve those as well.
Second.
Barry and Chris. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of February 6th, the school deliberative session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
Aye.
So there's 3 abstentions there, so that's 503. All right, abstentions. However, the wording of the motion was not to recommend, which explains their vote. And I did go back and look, and you know what, I'm gonna resend out the workshop we had a couple of years ago, because he actually did address that, which I had forgotten. He actually did address what the numbers should signify, and I think it would be interesting to reread that.
Are you talking Article 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that motion again?
The school board's motion was not to recommend, and not recommending passed by a 5-0 vote. But the community is used to seeing that first number, meaning who's in support of the article. So there was a lot. I had Terry Breon come up to me, very concerned, because she said, I don't know what to tell people. She said, I'm having so many people ask me what this means. So I told her
And we
what I
heard from
thought
quite
it
a few-
meant.
We heard from quite a few people exiting also that were confused.
So-
I
why-
think that's great, though, feedback, because we had very many discussions about how those numbers should appear. And we got
It was very
crucified for
interesting.
saying that people expect it a certain way.
It was very
So
interesting,
it's-
very appropriate, since, yes, we had such a lengthy discussion in our own meetings about what was the proper way to do it. So, and like I said, I don't have them in front of me, but it was very interesting. I had forgotten that was part of what he talked about the night that the New Hampshire Municipal Association legal person came and talked to us. He did mention about the vote, and he did have comments about what the vote meant. And I don't want to quote it off the top of my head, because I don't want to get it wrong, but I will resend those out, because it's very interesting. It's a good refresher, but it was very interesting
So the
to,
Budget Committee voted to recommend that, and it failed, and not, yeah, this whole year was a joke between this recommended and not recommend. That was
It
just
just goes to
the
show
new
that
norm. Yeah, it was a
the
ploy.
numbers are more important than the wording, is really what it comes down to. And
Kind
so
of.
It should be more important that if
Yeah.
you're in favor of it, that number should be first.
Kind
If you're
of.
against it, the number
Yeah,
is
it should be
second.
standard.
It should be just, that's the way people expect it, and think that's very interesting feedback considering the discussions that we had.
Yeah. So, so the school district was very straightforward. Everything passed, except for, like I said, the last article. And then Brian Bork and Christina Harrison were elected. Was that the operating budget failed. And I don't know what people thought about that. That was the article that, one of the articles that had a split vote on it, a 4-4, neither recommend or not recommend on it.
Prior to the Board of Selectmen's addition of $30,000 to it, it was actually recommended by this committee.
It was recommended.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that the people were asking about the recommendation on Article 5 for the school district shows that they do pay attention to those recommendations. I think what I took away from it, and I don't know that this is certainly not scientific, but it's just my opinion, is on individual articles, people can read it, they can decide, do I want to pay for paving of a parking lot? And they can make that determination. And if they're really unsure, they can look at whether it's recommended or not recommended. The main operating budget is a mystery to them, in general. It's a mystery. What's in it, what's not included. So I think they weigh more heavily on what the recommendation is. And in this case, it was split. And so I think more people erred on the side of, well, maybe I better not. And that's just what I took away from that. And it's, like I said, it's not scientific.
Obviously, none of it's scientific, we can only all guess. And I think if the selectmen would have kept the warrant with the non-union pay raises the way it was, that would have passed and the budget would have passed. So they took it out, put it in the other one, and they got nothing.
With the pay raises approved. The new wage scale approved, but no way to fund it.
So, I mean, that's, hopefully that'll be a lesson learned for the future, but again, that's another issue that will, again, maybe it won't be divided this year, but it's been divided, and it shouldn't be that way. It's simple. Warrants pass. I don't know why people fight against it and throwing stuff in the budget. And one other point I want to bring up, I hope this year we could finally, I'm hoping, and I'm going to speak as a new rep from the Board of Selectmen here, from my humble opinion, the health agencies, I'm hoping we could finally put this one to bed. I mean, instead of just, obviously, I have no right to dictate anything, and you guys make all the decisions, but to me, this seems like a no-brainer. It was in the budget, another year was out of the budget, then it was back in the budget. It passes, leave it out of the budget. Just leave it the way it is, it's working, and we could have saved ourselves a lot of angst going back and forth, so I'm hoping next year it could be a simple one, just leave it as a warrant.
Especially since now it gets funded, because otherwise it wouldn't have,
Right, it
because the
would've failed.
default budget would have been failed.
Well,
Seems simple to me.
and it was interesting, that the difference between the default and the proposed budget was about $66,000 and change. So that's a very small margin. Really, it's a very small margin.
And to be clear, from my opinion of the budgets now, with the light winter and the fact that the default budget, if you remember, had an additional about $60,000 in it, rightfully so, because that was what was approved the year before for the IT manager, which they never used or needed. So that was in there. So with the light winter and that extra money in there that they never needed in the first place, there's plenty of money in that budget in the default this year. From this point now, from my opinion,
They're not going to suffer.
not at all.
Well, that's our, you might suffer, but not because of money.
Right.
So,
Winter's not done yet.
No,
Still get next November, December.
exactly.
so when we get to, we can actually jump right ahead to town business. How will the selectmen proceed now? Are you going to reallocate now?
Yeah, what we're gonna be doing is, we're gonna be taking a look, and then at that point, we'll make the decisions where we need to reallocate that money, so, we haven't yet, let's talk about doing it, so I know Troy's working on it. What town administrator's gonna do is he's gonna go through it first, make his recommendations to us, and then at that point, we'll go through it and adjust what his recommendations are.
Any time frame?
I think we're actually scheduled for him to go through, I'm not sure if it's this week, this meeting or the following. I think it's this meeting coming up that, he's just gonna give us the preliminary on it as far as, where he thinks that we should make the adjustments, so.
Okay, okay. Anything else you want to tell us about what's going on in the town?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are aware, town of Litchfield has been pretty popular over the last month, as you guys know, but I'm sure some of you guys know that we had a meeting today in regards to the water issues that we're having in town, so I was unable to attend that due to my work, so, and this here, but, so I don't know exactly, I know they were meeting with that, don't really know any information other than that. There's been a lot of testing going on in town, especially what I say the north end of town that's been going on there. So, hopefully this meeting tonight's very informal, so we get a better understanding as far as what they're actually doing, what their plan is, where they're going with it. But again, with that being said, I really don't know too much on that side of things. So, with the exception of that, I'm sure you guys are aware of the good old cable committee has now gone
Famous.
nationwide. So we got that going on, and with the exception
Mosquito
of...
control, yes.
Huh?
Mosquito control.
Yeah, mosquito control, that's right, so, but with the exception of that, elections went okay, and, people know where the town of Litchfield
When we
is.
set that up.
Huh? Yeah, right.
That is classic. I just classic.
Recommending this board next to him. You did say that earlier, nobody caught that.
Usually, we have nobody here either. We have our TV community, and I learned on Election Day how many people actually do watch us on cable, so
Well,
we do have an audience on cable.
Did note that that board or that district did not cost very little to the town as opposed to some of these water districts that are millions and millions and millions of dollars, so there's a positive out of there.
Actually, it brought a lot of awareness. I don't think that was a bad thing. Everybody laughed a little bit at the time, including I called Al Raccio and talked to him because I thought he'd be ballistic. And he was cracking up. He thought it was hysterical, so.
Andrew.
As long as Al's laughing,
Turn
I
the
think you're
sign.
all good.
No, it definitely, people know where, I think, good old town of Little Litchfield is right now, so.
Our 5 minutes of fame. All right, if there's, so just one of the things to make you aware, we're going to take a preliminary look at a calendar tonight. I don't know if the selectmen have had any thought into what this fall is going to look like in terms of budget reviews and everything, but just to maybe bring that back to your board, we're trying to set up a calendar, and so we might be asking for dates that you can project, you might have your budget ready.
Okay.
This year's calendar worked really well. So if we can try, the early start.
Imitate that.
I think the early start made a big difference.
Yeah.
So.
All right, moving on to school business. I know we received a lot of information over the last month or so. We had an enrollment report, we had the January business administrators report, and we had the audit, which was from last June 30th, or July 1st. So in terms of enrollment, if I can find it.
I can give you the numbers if you want.
Okay. Do you have anything, so I have February 19th, do you have anything?
No, it's the last one.
That's the last one? Okay, so it looks as though right now our kindergarten registration as of February 19th anyways, was 43 students, and the first grade registration was 70 students. And just, it's interesting to note that the projections were projecting 57 first grade students, so we're significantly above that, 13 students, that's like a whole classroom. For kindergarten, they were projecting 46, so at 43, we're pretty much right on, But did anybody have any questions about?
No, I want to just bring up,
No, go ahead, keep going. Sorry. Mine's outdated. Mine's off by a month. I didn't realize how much of a
Okay,
difference a month made.
just, because I know there's a lot of talk about, obviously budgets and enrollments and increases and all of that. I have the piece of paper that was given to us on April 22nd, 2011, which was about 5 years ago. And back then, we had, as of this date, we had 1,591 students enrolled in the school. Now we have 1,388.
1396,
139, as of when?
January, that report
Well, I'm
from
looking at
January.
February 19th, it says 1388.
Huh?
So it's dropping. So it is 30, so there's a couple hundred less. The kindergarten enrollments as of this date, February 18th, 5 years ago, was 59, now it's 43. The first grade back then was 100, now it's 70. So it shows there are, for anybody that's questions enrollment or trends or which way it's going, I mean, it's clearly dropping. Take from it what you will, but factually speaking, enrollment is dropping, because if you go back to like 2006 and 7, it was 1,690 students, and then at 1,587, now 1,388, and it's projected to go to, 12 and then 11. I mean, obviously, unless something changes, but at least the trend is factual, it's the trend.
Well, and one of the things I've said for a number of years now is when the economy is down, houses aren't selling. So students progress through our schools, leave, and those four-bedroom houses are empty. As the economy's gotten better, we're seeing houses sell. These projections that we got in October were actually about 50 students higher than the previous year's projections. And I think we're going to, again, this fall, see an additional however many number of students arrive at our door, which is going to bump the projections up. I think we're going to see projections start to trend up. So 2011 may have been higher, but I do think we've had, like I said, the economy's taken its toll. Students have, attrition to moved out, moved through the school system, but their families haven't sold their houses, and that's going to have an effect.
That
So
could be. I know we've been hearing that for a while. I do have a couple more comments to make, more in general, and it's more about the direction of the committee, and if you'd like, I could just save it for committee.
does it have to do with enrollment?
Budget, enrollment, a little bit of everything. So no, not specifically. So I could save it for
Yeah.
member input, because
Yeah.
I also have a request for an agenda item, and if there's any discussion after that. So the best time, whatever
Yeah.
you think.
Is to save it.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's denying, Chris, that enrollment is going down, okay? I mean, that's evident, I mean, it's clear as day, I mean, you look at the numbers. But what's interesting is GMS enrollment is up 15 from the start of the year. Which is significant. And I think a lot of it has to do with exactly what Cindy just said.
Okay.
That houses are selling, and I think younger families are coming in.
So with a decline in the economy, also is a decline in birth rate? That's,
There actually is, there's been a decline in birth rate, absolutely.
oh, I know.
Yeah, so, yeah, there is a, decline in birth rate, so.
Yeah, so my most recent birth rate statistics, because my business is dependent on babies, right? I work for Babies R Us, so, is on the upward trend, significantly upward trend, and projected over the next 5 years to be quite significant.
That might very well be. I could also, that's also part of,
You need to match that demographic against the demographic far as income and
There
that
you
it
go.
takes to live in
Yeah.
this town, and
Right.
I haven't seen a large upshot in the college grad baby boom, but I have seen a big upshot in the single mom baby boom. I don't know. I think you need another number to tie that correlation together, to pull it into something usable for us.
and I guess when I brought up my statistic, the statistic I brought up was actual. I brought up
Yeah.
from 5 years ago to now, because that's easier. Projection, we have to base budgets on projection. We do all the time, and because you have to pick something. And it can't just be because I feel like it.
But it would be interesting to
Right.
bring those two numbers together and see what that looks like.
But I've made the point numerous times that anybody could pick any statistic from any source and make any case or point they want from that statistic. But once you dig deeper into it, as we just did here between this conversation, and as we've done when we spoke at deliberative regarding the raises, you could get any statistic that you want to prove a point or an end goal that you're trying to achieve. So we have to keep it to Litchfield. And
So the process for projections is that school opens, and the second Friday, they take account of how many kids are in school on the second Friday. Those are preliminary numbers. The numbers that then get worked into projections are the enrollment on October 1st. And we use the New Hampshire School Boards Association. They have been doing them for as long as I can remember, where they take those numbers, there's a formula, they weight the most recent trend, it's called a 3-year weighted average. The most recent year is weighted 3 times, 2 years twice, and the third year is weighted once to get a picture of what the trending is. They're pretty much right on for every single, it's not rocket science for grades 2 through 12. It's a little more fluid with kindergarten and first grade, but again, they've actually been pretty good over the years, and so that's what we use, and that's the process for how we get those numbers.
And they have been pretty accurate, with 1 or 2 exception blips. They've been very accurate.
All right, if there's nothing else on enrollment, we have the January Business Administrators Report. I don't know if anybody had any questions or anything they wanted to ask. Brian, do you have any, there hasn't been a Business Administrators Report for February and March, has there?
No, excuse me. Actually, we had our school board meeting last evening, and the BA was not in attendance. So actually, his reports that, just some things we're going to go over with him, we didn't go over. So we'll have another BA report, I think, at a meeting at April 6th.
Okay. April 6th, so there will be, on April 6th, one would assume a March.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
All right. The audit, I'm going to put it on another agenda, just because it is a pretty significant, if anybody, I want to make sure people have the opportunity to read it, to get their questions asked if they have any questions, but, and I do have, I printed the whole thing out, so if anybody needs a copy, I have one extra copy with me, so. Brian, is there anything you want to tell us about what's going on with the school
Yeah, I
district?
have a few other things. I think first I just want to address what Chris had said and Ray had alluded to as far as conflict of interest. I think you're going to find, like you said, you're going to police yourselves. All right, I'm here representing the school board. I probably have the most knowledge of anyone on the school board as far as the budgets, and that's one of the reasons why I said I would take this on. And I'm not sure if there's another member that could take it on, to be honest with you, as far as the time restraints. So I'll just leave it at that. You'll see through our actions that I'm my own person. And if you're going to police it however you want, that's fine. But I'm going to just continue doing the job I've been doing, and that's fighting for every dollar for the school system. So yeah, the first order of new business, then Chris, you'll be happy. Seeing the other one who said, go ahead and unionize. Well, they unionized. So the support staff is the union now, that we will be negotiating. So there's another part of what we'll be busy doing.
And quite honestly, I believe if that's what they want to do, that is absolutely fantastic. That is their right. And I always said, any raises need to go to the people that pay the bills, the owners of the company. In this case, the owners of the town, the decision to be made. So we were told here, time after time again, that we have to approve and recommend raises, or else they're going to unionize. So in other words, we got to give them what they want, or else they're going to go and get what they want. So the thing is, I always said, it's not for this place to recommend. All I said is take it out of the budget. That's all I ever said, take it out of the budget. So I'm glad that they went ahead and unionized now, because now they have to go to the owners of the town, the bosses, the people that own and pay the bills, and ask for the money. That's the way it should have been all the time. They didn't have to unionize to do that. The school board could have helped them achieve that goal, but because it didn't go that way, they unionized, and so be it. Now they're gonna, it's another collective bargaining, and it'll go to the voters.
It makes life more difficult, because that means now you have employees that are spending more time in bargaining meetings. It's a longer, more complicated process, and you lose, I think as a district, you lose a lot of control when you have a union. If you have, if you are able to be fair and keep employees happy, I think you're better off that they don't unionize, but
Well, but the way you're saying that is almost like we weren't keeping them happy or weren't doing the right thing. You see, I believe we were doing the right thing. I said, give them, I'm okay with giving them that raise. I even once said, double the raise. Give them double what they're asking.
Huge raise increase
So,
last year.
so you gotta understand my point. I said, give them what they want, but just put it on a separate warrant. That's all I've ever said. I never said don't give them raises. I argued for both sides of the town. I argued for the people in this town that are wealthy and could afford, $400 or $500 a year tax increases, and I argued for people that really can't afford to scrape another dime out of their budget without suffering. And because of that, I said, you just put it on a separate warrant. The governing bodies in this town really don't want to do that. They just want it in the budget. They want to bundle it up and have somebody vote on a big bill, which in the case of the town, it failed. So my way, I mean, the way they've been doing it, the way it's been currently going on, it seems like nobody's winning. So nobody could look at me and say, well, it's more difficult this way. I agree. I think unionization is probably the worst. And I don't know how all of these competing interests are actually going to get together, because there's so many different groups in there, but that's something you got to deal with now. My way would have been, you just put it on a warrant. But you never wanted to do that. And the town doesn't want to do that. That's my only issue. So because of those actions, they unionized. It's not my wish.
Right.
I just have a question for Brian. So are you saying that the reason they unionized is a direct result of the Budget Committee's actions?
No, I didn't say that at all.
I just want to make sure that's,
No, I'm not implying that whatsoever.
Thank you for saying that.
The other thing I have is, we had an officer from the Department of Homeland Security. He actually came to our school board meeting last evening. They're going to be doing a walkthrough of all three of our buildings, as far as looking for, they'll look at access points, cameras, all first floor, and will give us a detailed audit report, along with their suggestions as far as for security, which kind of ties in as far as the building assessments we're going to have done at the same time. But it's something they'll come in and it'll take them 2 full days, go through both buildings, and they'll give us a report like within a month. And that's like the first step, because then what we can do next year is apply for grants for some of these items to be taken care of. So depending how much money is out there, like you said, there's normally quite a bit of money, but a lot of schools will be competing for that same money also.
Right.
But once the assessments are done, then we can apply for grant money.
Are they doing this on their own? Do we have to pay for it?
No, they do it on their own. They'll come in,
Did we invite them, or did
We
they
did.
impose themselves on us?
no, we invited them. So along with Homeland Security, will be the fire department, police department, I believe the EMTs are gonna be there also, and take a walk through the facilities. So along with that, we have formed a new committee, which I'll ask again, if there's a member of the budget committee, I'll ask the chair if you would want one. It's gonna be the Building Planning Advisory Board, which was similar to what we had last year. But I think last year was more or less, we just kind of like walked through and like, what can we fix, what can't we fix? So once they do the assessment, that passed it as far as an amendment, a warrant article, that'll give us a working document as far as what we'll need to do as far as a plan for the upkeep of the buildings, repair of the buildings, once that assessment is completed. I know in the past there was a budget committee member on there, and I don't know if you want to consider having one on there. And it's not so much for making financial decisions, it's, I think, more informational, that if the member's on there, then they can see like what we're up against and what we're looking at. And they can possibly just add to the rest of the committee. I think really that's about it. I mean, basically what we've been doing, I think our last few meetings with the school board is we've been going through a lot of policy and procedures and just updating and going through the files. I think that's all I had.
Okay. So we'll put that on the next agenda then, a discussion about the Building, Planning, and Advisory Committee of the school board.
When is that going to be formed? When do you intend to start forming that?
After the assessment is done. Well, I think the committee itself will probably be formed before then.
Right.
But then they'll start once the assessment comes in.
All right. And that's it for school business?
Yep.
All right, any questions, comments? All right, moving on, member input, new business. The item that I stuck in here was, this is the time of the year where we look at calendar. I have paper copies, because I don't like this program, so I'm going to redo it, but I figured this at least gives us something to look at tonight.
And Cindy, if I can just add also, because you asked the town as far as budgets, that
If you have an extra set.
as soon as we get dates for you, when we'll have them,
Oh, never mind.
we'll pass them on. But I can almost assure you that we'll have them earlier, even earlier than we did last year.
Okay.
What is the orange circle our dates?
The orange circle is our dates, and I tried to highlight it, but the yellow doesn't seem to come through my printer. So those orange dates are the third Thursday of the month. That's typically when we meet. Then March 14th is the projected election day.
Skipping July as usual.
I did skip July, but that's, if people would rather skip August instead,
No,
or
let's
skip
keep it
both,
July.
or, it's.
Let's skip everything until the budgets are delivered, okay?
And again, I looked up the RSAs, because they do not have any calendars out for next election cycle. But it appears that January 10th would be the last day to post for a hearing. January 17th would be the last day that a hearing could be held. The budget would need to be delivered to the town and school district by January 26th, and that deliberative sessions need to be held between February 4th and February 11th. And that was my read of RSA 40, looking at the last Monday of the month, and the second this and the third that. So that's just that's why I didn't put it on here, because this is just my interpretation of the RSA. They don't have anything out yet that has those things nailed down. And again, what we did last year was we held 5 meetings to review the town budget. We set aside 6 meetings, only needed 5 meetings to review the school budget. And then we had 1 day in January where we finalized the school budget, 1 day in January where we finalized the town budget, and moved on to the hearing. So if we're again looking at a similar schedule, that would be October 6, 13, 20, 27, and November 3rd, which would be town. Or we could back it up and do September 29, 6, 13, 20, 27, and then start the school district on November 3rd. So it's just adjusting a week here or a week there.
Did we start November last year? We did, didn't we?
You
The 5th?
started in November last year, yep. November 5th.
I think, yep.
Yep. So, I'll just leave that as, thought for the town and the school to bring back to their committees and take a look and see if those make sense still, or if they think something different might make sense. But it seemed to work pretty well last year.
Yep.
Made for long meetings on the 4th and the 6th, but.
We're a lot shorter than we were the year before.
Yeah, yeah. So, any comments, questions, suggestions, changes?
I'd still like to do a full day, but
Oh. Yeah, full days are hard. I have done both ways.
just think you'd be done with it one day.
I like to drag it out.
She's a glutton for punishment. All right. So any other member input, new business? And I know, Chris, you
You
said
know I had
you said you had some, so go right ahead.
I actually took notes to keep my train of thought. I'm going to have a request also, but I want to have a comment first, a request for an agenda item.
Okay.
The governing bodies in this town, they have been proposing hundreds and even many hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional spending increases year after year. It comes to this committee, This committee cuts it.
November 3rd, so it's just adjusting a week here or a week there.
Did we start November last year? We did, didn't we?
You
The 5th,
started in November last year, yep. November
I
5th.
think, yep.
Yep. So, I'll just leave that as, you know, thought for the town and the school to bring back to their committees and take a look and see if those make sense still, or if they think something different might make sense. But it seemed to work pretty well last year.
Yep.
Made for long meetings on the 4th and the 6th, but.
We're a lot shorter than we were the year before.
Yeah, yeah. So, any comments, questions, suggestions, changes?
I'd still like to do a full day, but
Oh. Yeah, full days are hard. I have done both ways.
just think you'd be done with it one day.
I like to drag it out.
I mean, I made the joke once, some of those cuts can be created with a computer program. You don't need 8 of us to do it. It's just type in the parameters and say, look, any overspend or any underspend, you don't just take it out. I'm asking this, is it the Budget Committee's role to simply take what is presented by the 2 governing bodies and clean up those clerical and mathematical errors, which still result in ever-increasing budgets and higher taxes? Or is it the role of the Budget Committee to discuss, talk about parameters, vision with the governing bodies, to say where we want to be, and then set your policies, create your budgets to conform to the parameters that were created? There's no one group that's better or more important than the other. We all have different roles, and we should work together. And it seems like sometimes we take budgets, this committee takes budgets, and we hear, can't do that, it's not your purview, or you'll get people riled up against it, and emotion comes into play, and you kind of handcuff this committee into maybe sometimes not making the absolute best decisions for all in this community, and I mean all. The reality based upon trend, and I'm looking back a number of years, an average homeowner right now is paying $7,000 a year in taxes, will be paying $10,000 a year in taxes. Maybe a handful of years. Could be 5, could be 7, but it's going to happen. However, it was said by a few members of this committee that we are not to look past the current tax year impact. That we're only to focus on the current year, and I think that's a mistake. There's no sign that the federal or state government is ever going to become fiscally responsible, so further revenue cuts from those sources are inevitable. So people watching on TV understand, every year we're getting less money, or let me be more clear. Even though we're sending more money to the state and the federal government, they're letting us have less of it back, which means then we have to come up with more taxes for the additional spending we're proposing on a local level. But I also, unfortunately, don't anticipate that the school board or the Board of Selectmen are going to slow down the increases that they're asking for when it comes to this committee. And even with those increases, huge increases, after this committee even gets done with it, there's still enough people that want more money. And they say that there are certain groups that are not being adequately represented in this town. Now for my request. It's not to continue to repeat the same thing we've been doing. Again, there's no doubt in my mind, I'm predicting it right now, the budgets we're going to get in October are going to show hundreds of thousands of dollars of increases. And we're going to hear, is all of it's needed, costs go up, blah, 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 can't cut anything, we really need it. It's going to happen. We're going to go through our same cycle, do the same thing. We're going to do the mathematical cuts. There'll be some rancor, no doubt. We saw it here today. This community will be divided again at deliberative, and we'll be in the same spot. What I want to do is this committee to discuss, maybe next meeting, or at the latest the meeting after, hopefully next meeting, parameters. What's the vision? What are we looking for? Or let's just say right now, let's just say In the next budget cycle, taxes are gonna go up $500, $600, or $700 every family in town. Let's just admit it, because that's what's happening anyway, but we're acting like there's no choice.
Chris, if I can just interrupt for a second?
Sure.
'Cause I don't know if the selectman has that information, but I'm just curious, like, what taxes have gone up over like the last 5 years? I'll pull out my tax bills,
Okay.
and I'll bring it to the next meeting, because my taxes don't go up $500 a year.
Some do, some don't. I mean, they go up.
It's gone up so it's gone up $2,500 in the last 6 years?
There's no way.
Well,
Okay, in 5
There's
years?
no way.
There's
Every
no way.
home's
There's
different.
no way.
I know every home's
Look.
different, but the medium,
It's easy enough to figure out, so
Yeah.
we don't have to argue about it.
This committee owes it to the voters to assist them in the prudent appropriation of the tax dollars. So let's start early, let's engage in discussion. There's a lot of people that speak at deliberative, they speak on Facebook pages, they speak on town board forums. Let's invite them all in here. Because it's okay to talk amongst yourselves, it's okay to talk in small groups, get them all in here, let's all engage in discussion. Let's formally invite them, and let's open up the discussion, let's have a debate. I mean, we have rules here, I understand, we could suspend the rule and have a debate, we could have some sort of forum, we could bring it somewhere. Let's do it before it gets to the deliberative. Let's do it before the Facebook pages explode a couple weeks before election. Let's be proactive, and let's get it all out in the open. If there's people thinking that even with additional hundreds of thousands of dollars in spending a year, with student enrollment going down and population stagnant, that's not enough, I want to know why. I need to know where I'm missing it, how all of that extra money per year is still not enough. That's all I want to say. So let's begin the discussion, first amongst this board, and then let's invite the public in here. Let's do it early.
Chris, one of the things you said, divided at deliberative, we're kind of divided deliberative, because you have the school board on one side, you have the budget committee on the other side, and you have nobody in the audience. So that's part of the problem.
Right.
Someone had a comment the other day, and it's probably very well true, especially, I mean, this town has changed quite a bit over the years. There are more sports and more kids involved in sports right now, and weekends are extremely difficult. My understanding, when they used to have the deliberative on a Wednesday or Thursday evening,
Used to be Friday night.
Friday night, it was
Friday night.
packed, right?
Friday nights. Yep.
It was packed. Now you go to deliberative, you know how many people were in the deliberative session out in the audience for the school?
20.
There weren't that many. There weren't that many, and 5 of them were the principals and the admin team.
But we walked out at the end of the day, you knew what was done, and you knew why it was done. I've sat when we first moved to New Hampshire, and we started participating in the deliberative session, we thought that was a marvelous thing, that we actually had some control over what happened in our town. I can remember my first deliberative session was at GMS. They filled the gymnasium, but that's how many people attended, was that small gymnasium was full. There's about 4,000 people in this town.
And I think we should, seriously look
Let me
at,
clarify.
Yeah.
We did not have deliberative that filled the gym. We've never had deliberative fill the gym. We had town meeting.
Town meeting, I'm sorry.
Town meeting
Yeah.
fills the gym because the decisions are made that day. Now people perceive that, why do I go? Because I'm just going to go to the ballot and check those boxes. So nobody goes to deliberative, in which case you actually have more people voting, but I think less informed people voting.
I agree with you, and that's sad.
And the
That
argument,
is sad.
but I think at the I think if we did change it from a Saturday to another day, you'd probably have it more in attendance. And they can make change at the deliberative.
They can.
I just need to add this, what I just said, what I just said, that's too late. I mean, okay, legally it's allowed, and it's always welcome. Too late, way too late.
But
Next
you're
meeting, they should be here. How many sports are going on Thursday nights?
And
Let's get them
I
here.
agree with you totally, Chris, that there should be more people in the audience that should come to the meetings. And voice
So,
how they
we
feel.
gotta reach those people.
Yeah.
And there's certain people in this community that could reach certain groups of people. I could reach a group of people, you could reach a group of people, everybody could reach them, pull them in here. Say, this is your chance now. You wanna better communicate to the public? You wanna really be involved? Do it early, better than doing it late.
So we have had in the past discussion about parameters, tax caps, and actually I want to circle around because we totally neglected the topic
Tax
of
cap.
tax cap. But we've had discussion about, should we look at a percentage? Should we look at a dollar? Should we look at a tax target? So I think that's a good discussion to have again, and it doesn't hurt at the beginning of budget meetings to have that and decide whether we want to go in that direction or not.
and on that vein, just for one time, even if we said you have to make it -1%, Why does it have to go up every year?
Well-
There are one-time expenditures, things in budgets that change. I mean, it's not always the same, and
Ray, can I add to that? If you give the parameter of, okay, it comes in at -1%, fine. But then if there's additional items needed to get put on a warrant article, but then you don't have a budget committee member get down on the floor and take a warrant article from $100,000 to $1, okay, and slap us in the face and do that, you can't do that.
I think I missed that. I understand that. I understood that happened, but I was not there that day. The reality is, and I have to tell you, being on this board as long as I have, when I was a selectman, used to be, everybody was mad at us. So I was kind of used to that.
Still out.
You you couldn't please, no matter what you did, there was at least 50% of the people were mad at you that day. Here at the Budget Committee, it seems like we managed to make 100% of the people mad at us every day.
Both town
Because
and
we're
school district.
demonized, because we're trying to give them a budget that they can afford.
I don't think that's true.
Well,
I don't.
It varies.
I would say that it goes both ways.
I know.
Was what Bill did logical that day? It wasn't a slap in the face, was it logical? It was somebody that has as much experience in this budget as Bill Spencer. It was not a slap in the face, it
Yeah,
was
but
a
there-
logical, calculated move.
No, there's a man who says, put it on the warrant article. Let the people decide. Put it on the warrant article. Let the people decide. The 12 people in the audience was not an audience to decide. That's not the public.
Goes both
Peter,
ways.
can I flip
No,
that
it
around?
doesn't go both ways.
Well,
That's not the
It does,
public.
because the 40 people in the audience that voted to
There
put the
wasn't 40.
$30,000 in the town budget for the wage plan.
Yeah.
We came back to this committee, we said, that's the will of the vote. So look, no, yes, that the 12 people was the will, yes. So you have to be consistent, because I agreed, as much as I said it's silly, the 40 people changed the budget in the town and added 30,000, so the 12 people changed it from 100 to 1. My opinion, you don't need that money, it was never used, but that's a whole different story.
But don't tell us to put it on a warrant article and then erase the warrant article.
I don't know
Deliver
that
it.
he actually
Well,
supported
I
that.
think the Budget Committee does not have any say on what the warrant article, what the dollar amounts of the warrant articles are. We can say, hey, we'd really like to see that on a warrant article. If you bring a warrant article to us, we can't change it. The only time it can be changed, and it's just the system that's in place, is on the floor to
I understand as far
deliver.
as changing it, but many times
But-
at these
but
meetings,
outside of that
you say if there's a particular item, especially the town, talk about a police cruiser, you say, put it on a warrant article. That's 34. $40,000, so that's what they're gonna put on there. But then you go to deliberative, and if you were to change that to $1 for a vehicle, then you're defeating the purpose.
But to that end, any single member of the body, which Bill Spencer is, a citizen of this town, whether he's an elected official or he's an appointed, serving an appointed position, still has his rights as a voter in this town, and that's what Bill was doing from the floor. Whether he's a member of the Budget Committee or not, the Budget Committee supported that. What one man does from the floor is his prerogative and his right, just as it's yours.
But we all know that Bill Spencer got up there, and there's not a single person in that audience that doesn't know who Bill Spencer is.
There's a
whether
lot
he's-
of people that get up there and
Whether
when they
he's-
speak, it means something. Not just Bill Spencer, but the fact of the matter is, he was acting as a citizen, not as the Budget Committee or even a member of the Budget Committee.
Look, Frank Byron, as a citizen, stood up there and put $30,000 into the town budget. So again, consistency is important.
Well, I'm not saying that's right either.
It's right, okay, well, I'm actually saying they're both right. I agree with one, disagree with the other, but they're both right. So let's get the people in early, or let's attempt to get the people in early, because, you say not everybody's pissed at everybody. I know a group of people that's pissed at what we do, because they're saying, that's all? I mean, you come through this whole process, and we're still spending hundreds of thousands of dollars more than the year before? So I get people that are pissed on the other, and those are all the ones that voted no on the budget.
How come they're not here? Get them here.
Well, you're right,
Get 'em here.
nobody's here, that's the point. I want to
All right, so-
engage them all.
Either side of the aisle,
We're
spenders
gonna
or
have
the
a
takers.
discussion on parameters, which will be an agenda item. Are we looking, do we want to?
I want to do the next meeting,
Okay, next meeting,
sooner than later.
okay.
And I'm more curious, I'm first curious, I want to hear each member I want to know what the members in this room believe the parameters are and the budget should be, and then I want to do whatever we can on any.
Put it in the candidates,
I
It
was
should
just
be
gonna
in-
say, I
yes.
want to get the interview process done and get a full board first. So if that agenda item's on next agenda, I'd like to see it.
Well, we're going to seat the new member first, the member's going to sit down, then we can do it.
No, I want to know their answer to that question before we vote for, decide.
Well, no, let
That should be part of the
no, let the
process.
candidates talk what they want. Once they're on the, whatever parameters, once they're on the board, well, then they're gonna be a board member, and they're gonna voice their opinion, but also I wanna invite general public in here to, see, and then have them voice their opinion.
Tell us what you want.
Yeah, tell us what you want. If they want the budget to be 25 million or 26 million this year, then so be it. Let them tell us.
All right, here's what I'm gonna do. Let's put that on May, and I will do another article to HLN, not right away, but towards the end of April, and ask the community to attend our meeting on the 21st. We're gonna talk about parameters, tax rates, percentage increase, decrease, whatever, and we really would like some community input, so that people are aware to
I don't
come.
think April's good. You can get the people here by April. It's a month.
I think we can, but I think we already have a big agenda item, so let's just stick with getting candidates in to talk to, and then once they're seated in May, we can bring the community in and talk. And I think that spreads out the
Trauma.
the trauma a little bit. One thing I did, and I realized I skipped over in election results, the tax cap did pass overwhelmingly, except, and Brian, Kevin, you'll have to help me out, it's not valid because there was a mix-up. HLN did not post the hearing announcement. Somehow it didn't end up in the paper, so the hearing was never posted. When the hearing came, no one showed up, so that means that the tax cap vote is invalid, and it would have to be revoted.
That's my understanding as well. Like she said, what happened, it was submitted on time, but the HLN just didn't put it in.
It's actually not invalid. It's advisory.
Right, I don't think we just should
We now get it, we get an
No.
idea of what the community wanted, but
It's not legally binding, but we should definitely consider.
it'll be
Oh,
a
yeah,
good
the Board of
exercise.
Selectmen-
No, I'll agree with Chris, it's more of, like you said, advisory.
Well, it's not me that said it. I read the legal opinion.
But I'm just.
The lawyer said it's advisory.
Right.
So it's advisory, which means, look, it was so overwhelming
Yes.
that the Board of Selectmen has to obey it. I
Correct.
mean, they don't legally have to,
Right.
but practically,
Yeah, but
they
at
have to
the
obey
end
it.
of the day, the town spoke. Right.
So, and that's, again, that kind of becomes parameters.
Oh, but no, that's the legal parameters.
Yeah, yeah.
That might not be this
There's
board's
one-
parameters.
One angle.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I just wanted to throw that out there and
Yeah,
make sure
that's
we,
fine.
all right, anything else under member input? All right, moving on to public input. Take two.
Hey, guys.
Long time no see.
How's it going? Derek Barker, 8 Simeon Lane. I happen to be watching on TV. I just want to come down and say something on behalf of the perceived conflict of interest. Brian has one job, and that's to advocate for the school board. We believe he's done a good job doing that the last couple of years, and we asked him to continue doing that. But the bottom line is he has one job. His vote can't change. He does one thing. He can try and sway your minds. And he'll continue to do that. He can try and sway Jen's mind just like everyone else. But I assure you, knowing Jen, he has no more influence over her than he does the rest of you. And she can't change his mind because he can't change his mind. He has to vote with us. So I understand the concern. I don't believe there is a conflict there. I think as time goes on, you'll see that there really is no issue here. Furthermore, the town voted for both of them to be in this position. There was no secret. They shared signs. Like it was very clear what was happening. And I think it's pretty clear. I personally don't find it to be an issue.
So the will of the voter matters.
And well, besides, I just need to add to it, actually, the town did not vote for both of them to be in this position. They voted for Jen Bork to be in this position, for you to be in the school board position.
And I am in the school board position. I just happen to be the school board rep.
It's not this position. So, I mean, let's see, look, either words and definitions mean things or they don't. You were not, the town did not vote for you to be here in this position as the school board rep to the budget committee. look, whether that changed anybody's mind or it doesn't, that's the definition of perceived conflict. It's perceived, because you could take it one way and somebody will take it the other way. That's why they call it perceived and not real or actual.
Now, Chris, the public doesn't vote for the school board representative ever. They don't.
Oh, so what Mr. Barker just said was then not accurate, because the voters did not vote for both of you to be in this position.
No, they voted for me to be on the school board.
That's correct. Now, circles.
All right, any other public input?
Still like to address that Mr. Barker's statement. Rational minds would sit here and argue that this is not a perceived conflict of interest. But I would say that anyone that's married, I'm approaching 40 years, would say that your wife has some influence on you, and you as a husband have some influence on your wife. That is real, and you can't take that away. And if anyone here can argue that, I would say that wasn't a very intellectual argument. There is a conflict of interest here, and whether the town elected you or not, you sitting here and thinking this is right just causes me pause. It really does. And I'll be honest with you, either one of you on the board, we don't have any problem with that. Both of you on the same board is an issue. And that's one I think you're going to find causes something to the effect of maybe something happens at the state level, because they have to address this kind of thing. Litchfield has set precedents before in this with the school board's actions over football and the no means no law. I think, the reality is that this is going to be a problem in the end, and we're all here, all of us that are being adults and adulting are saying it's a problem. We're being right up front with it to both of you. I mean, this is not going to die a slow death. It's going to be at every meeting. This will be a conversation. So, I mean, take it for what you want. I'd be honest with you, I personally don't see a reason to stay on the budget committee anymore. It's a joke. And Chris just actually summed it up. We sit here through this spin cycle, night after night, wasting our time, arguing over pennies, nickels, and dimes, and jumping over the thousands of dollars and leaving them on the floor. And I don't think in the end that we're doing anything good for the town.
It's too bad you think that your responsibility as a budget committee is a waste of time and a joke.
After all the time I've spent here and doing service for this town, I do think it's a joke
I'm
these
sorry,
days.
the budget committee, and you think it's a joke.
I do.
I think what we're hearing is frustration, concern. Time will tell. The voters have a way, the pendulum swings, the voters have a way of making their concerns known. So unless we have a crystal ball, we can't see the future, but there are a lot of people that have expressed concern, and I think the best thing that any committee can do, be it the selectmen, be it the budget committee, be it the school board, is you want to fly under the radar. If you're going to create controversy, it's going to come back to bite you. So just who knows what the future holds, but it's certainly something that there's an elephant in the room, and some people don't want to tiptoe around it. So we'll just see where it goes.
Can I just touch base on that? I just want to go back to where Chris went tonight, as far as, if people have concerns, like he's talking about getting people in here. People need to come in, they need to express that concern. I've had this conversation with him before, as far as, the people. I hear all the time, the people. Me as selectman, I got an email, I got a telephone number. Anybody can reach me any time of the day. So if, like you just said, you have all these people who are concerned. Well, these people either need to show themselves, instead of going behind the closed doors and saying, I'm concerned. If they can't do that, then it's non-issue. So, like you said, people need to come out, they need to tell us their concerns, and they need to show up. It's that simple.
Kevin,
Right?
that's called the silent majority.
Right.
It's been there forever. People that are outspoken are normally persecuted in some way, shape, or form. Most folks don't want to put themselves under that kind of pressure, or their families, or what else. There are a few of us that just throw all caution to the wind and speak and do what they say.
But what Kevin said is true. If people have an issue, they either need to step up or shut up.
What Kevin said is
Well,
absolutely.
I'm stepping up.
Is absolutely true, And I'm one of those stupid, hard-headed guys, and I got the scars to prove it, that I'll just say anything. But I've had this conversation with Kevin, I've had it with other Board of Selectmen members, and one in particular, he talks about how he gets calls, and I'm not gonna mention names, because I know when Mr. Byron was here, he used to get real upset at that. And everybody agreed with him. But, then everybody I talked disagreed with him and agree with me. So I'm sure if somebody's calling Brian or Bob or Jen, that, those same people may or may not call me, because you tend to go toward the people with your belief system. So, yeah, if somebody is proposing more spending, and the person that believes in fiscal restraint isn't gonna call you and talk to you, because that guy's all about spending. And I could tell you, there's nobody calling me saying, look, I think you should just add more money to the budget, on every line item. It just doesn't happen. So we all know that. So what you said is true. Everybody's got the people they talk to. But remember, we're representing different groups of people. And I'm not saying the people are representing me because of me. It's just because of the way I am and my belief system, those type of people would speak to me. So
Well, the bottom line, people need to come out.
that's the point. They all need to come out, because you know what? The people that allow this usually win. Well, always win, actually. They always win.
Is that what happens, Chris?
Well, you know what? No, it's not true, because I always lose. You do? And I am the loudest.
Okay, I just wanted to.
No, you're right.
All right, anything else under member input? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
No, I want to stay here longer.
So made.
I'll second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we will meet
Opposed?
Okay,
Aye.
Chris, you're opposed. April 21st at 7 PM.
I was having fun today.
I know you
I have
were.
fun.